Hello viewers, I'm your host Uzma Jafri with another episode of South Asia Focus. Let's begin today's show with Afghanistan, where the political heavyweights, including the incumbent President Ashraf Ghani and Chief Executive Abdullah, have filed up their nomination for the presidential elections slated July this year. The elections that have already suffered a protracted delay come at a time when the country is facing the strongest Taliban offensive, compounded by repeated bottlenecks cropping up in the peace process. Recently, the Kabul establishment received a major setback when Taliban shut them out of the peace talks, calling them stooges. A report.
Afghanistan President Ashraf Ghani entered the 2019 presidential race after forging an alliance with a staunch critic to challenge his former governing partners at a time when the Taliban has refused any engagement with him to end more than 17 years of war. Ghani is seeking a second term amid the war with the hardline Islamic militants and ongoing peace talks between the United States and the Taliban. Ghani government has said that his government has been sidelined. The presidential vote scheduled for July 20 is also under scrutiny because of the lack of serious reforms to prevent a repetition of previous fraud-marred Afghan elections. Election Commission officials, however, dismiss concerns and insist the rescheduling of the polls from the original April 20 date has given them enough time to fix the problems and to lay the ground for a better organized vote.
پیشنهاد صلح برای نخستین بار از آدرس من صورت گرفت و این تیم متعهد به صلح است و صلح می‌یابد.
Independent analysts said Afghanistan's political landscape has been thrown into turmoil by the nominations and shifting loyalties.
تیکت فرصت جلب اعتماد مردم و بالاخره در خدمت قرار گرفتن مردم داشته
Gulbuddin Hekmatyar, a former ethnic Pashtun warlord accused of war crimes and once listed as terrorist by the US, has also joined the presidential race. A day earlier, former warlord Gulbuddin Hekmatyar announced he was running for president with the Afghanistan Chief Executive Abdullah, who currently holds a power-sharing agreement with Ghani, formally entering the race on Sunday morning.
ما طرفدار نظام فدرالی نیستیم. ما طرفدار نظام صدارتی هم نیستیم. کشور ما و وضعیتش ایجاب میکنه که ما دارای یک حکومت نیرومند مرکزی و در رأسش رئیس جمهور منتخب با مورد حمایت اکثریت مردم.
Afghanistan's former National Security Advisor Mohammad Hanif Atmar also registered for the presidential race, seeking to unseat his former boss Ghani with the promise of a renewed effort to bring peace to the country. Atmar, the country's top security official for 4 years before he quit in August over policy differences with Ghani, is seen by some analysts as a leading contender in the election.
This team definitely seeks to have a change in the leadership of this government and to replace it by the peace and moderation team with the noble cause of bringing peace to the country.
Ghani's critics say the previous presidential election in 2014 was fraught with irregularities. But the American government backed the Western-educated leader to rule the country, while Washington wound down the US military presence in favor of an advisory role to Afghan forces in the war. The Taliban has steadily carved out territorial gains since 2014, leaving Ghani's government in control of less than 2/3 of the country. Islamic State also has an established presence in the east of the country.
Moving on. Pakistan seems to have become the champion of human rights abuses, whether it is Balochistan, Sindh or the occupied regions of Gilgit Baltistan and POK. It has been unrelenting in perpetrating atrocities of highest order. Mohajirs, who came to Pakistan in 1947 calling it their own country, have always been accorded unequivocal treatment by the Pakistan establishment. Recently, a US-based advocacy group championing the cause of Mohajirs, the Voice of Karachi, demanded Pakistan to declare Karachi and other urban areas of Sindh province as an autonomous region and provide equal rights to all. A report.
The Voice of Karachi, a US-based advocacy group having a crusading instance on the rights of Mohajirs, the people who crossed over to Pakistan from India calling it their homeland, has formally demanded Pakistan to declare Karachi and other urban areas of Sindh province as an autonomous region. On the occasion of the advocacy group's first anniversary earlier this week, its chairman Nadeem Nusrat unveiled a Greater Karachi plan. Nusrat said it has been well over 70 years, but Mohajirs, the Urdu-speaking immigrants who left India during partition in 1947 and came to Pakistan, have still not been accepted worthy of equal rights.
This is something which we have been trying for a long time, and we have arrived at this conclusion, and today we are presenting all the details, and I'm sure the people of urban Sindh would be delighted to see our plans, and we expect tremendous amount of support from our supporters.
Mohajirs have long claimed to have been suffering discrimination and state persecution at the hands of nation, which they have repeatedly said doesn't accept them as their own. Several activists have raised concern in the past, blaming that innocent people from religious and ethnic minorities are subjected to torture, killings and enforced disappearances for raising their voices in the country.
All the urban areas of Sindh province be declared as an autonomous region, which means that these areas, just like the region in Iraq, the Kurdish region, these areas should have autonomy when it comes to their all domestic issues. This is not a strange phenomenon. It is a doable, it's a very viable plan. It is already happening in Iraq, in Kurdish region, where the Kurdish population has been granted the right to rule and to control their own affairs.
Mohajirs make substantial allegations of discrimination and persecution. Their grievances are largely directed at Punjabis who dominate the armed forces. And the army generals are the real commanders of Pakistani politics, who decide and drive the internal as well as foreign policy of the country. Ever since the formation of Pakistan, their principal policy vis-a-vis Mohajir has been to suppress them. They have been extensively carrying out human rights violations. Abductions, detentions and, in some cases, even killings has brazenly been carried out to shut the people demanding their rights.
Moving on to illegally occupied region of Gilgit Baltistan, where strong wave of resistance has erupted in the wake of verdict by Pakistan's top court, which upheld the Gilgit Baltistan Order-2018, which transfers all powers of the region to Pakistan's Prime Minister. Activists blame the draconian law, which was imposed tactfully by Islamabad to further suppress the beleaguered people of the illegally occupied region.
A strong wave of protests has erupted in the wake of a Supreme Court of Pakistan's verdict, which has upheld the GB Order 2018, a package introduced last year to take away the powers granted to the Gilgit Baltistan Assembly and transferring them to Pakistan's Prime Minister. Earlier, the verdict came as a response to a series of petitions challenging the Gilgit Baltistan Order 2018, Gilgit Baltistan Empowerment and Self-Governance Order 2009. Petitioners had accused Islamabad of introducing such orders to suppress the people of the region. Activists and experts across the spectrum have repeatedly accused Pakistan of bringing in the law to get rid of the little bottlenecks hindering its materialistic ambitions.
आज हम सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ पाकिस्तान के उस जजमेंट के खिलाफ, आज उस सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ पाकिस्तान के उस फैसले के खिलाफ हम एहतिजाज नहीं करेंगे, हम एहतिजाज नहीं करेंगे, बल्कि इंशाअल्लाह गिलगित बल्तिस्तान के 25 लाख अवाम अपनी हक़ खुद इरादियत के लिए, अपनी आज़ादी के लिए लाए अमल इंशाअल्लाह हम तय करेंगे। सियासी लोग ये समझ जाए कि गिलगित बल्तिस्तान न पहले पाकिस्तान का था, न अब है, न आइंदा बन सकता है, क्योंकि हम बाहर कह चुके हैं, क्योंकि गिलगित बल्तिस्तान के 25 लाख अवाम की मुस्तकबिल का फैसला होना अभी बाकी है। अफसोस इस बात की है कि यहाँ पर बसने वाले 25 लाख अवाम न पाकिस्तानी है, न पाकिस्तान की शहरी है।
Firstly, Pakistan occupied the region of Gilgit Baltistan illegally and then introduced various draconian laws to keep a check on the local people. Gradually, it took control of the resources of the region. Today, it virtually controls the entire region and exploits it to meet the energy and other fundamental needs of Pakistan. Local activists and other reasonable voices that have dared question the intent of Islamabad have been slapped with sedition charges and have been thrown behind bars. The activists have vowed to continue their struggle against the government until their rights were granted to them.
जिस मुआशरे में इंसाफ नहीं मिले वहाँ कोई आईनी हक, कोई बेसिक राइट, कोई कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल राइट मिलना मुश्किल है और पॉसिबल नहीं है। लिहाजा हम समझते हैं कि हमारा ये हक है कि हम UNCIP रिजोल्यूशन की बुनियाद पे यूनाइटेड नेशन जहाँ से ये फैसला आया था हम शायद वहाँ चले जाएं या इंटरनेशनल कोर्ट ऑफ जस्टिस से रुजू करें, क्योंकि हमें इंसाफ नहीं मिला, हम इंसाफ की तलाश में आखिरी हदूद तक जाएंगे।
The status of the region has always been in a limbo, with Islamabad ruling the region through ad hoc executive orders. These orders are basically used as a suppressive tool to keep the indigenous people under check and are aimed at curtailing the fundamental rights of the citizens of Gilgit Baltistan. Latest in the list, the GB Order 2018, which transferred all the powers vested with the GB authorities to the federal government, was introduced to facilitate the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, an ambitious multi-billion economic project that had hit multiple roadblocks owing to earlier status.
We are now joined by Rahul Jalali, a senior journalist who has been closely following the developments of the region. Mr. Jalali, a strong wave of protests has erupted across Gilgit Baltistan in the aftermath of the Supreme Court's verdict of upholding GB Order 2018. How do you see these developments where even the apex court has marginalized the people of GB?
Well, yes, Gilgit Baltistan has been protesting the Pakistani domination for a long, long time. Also, the fact is that despite the Supreme Court orders, which nullifies the Pakistani administration order of taking Gilgit Baltistan away from its original status of being a disputed territory, of being a part of Jammu and Kashmir. I think the brazenness in which Pakistan army acts, who have for years been trying to depopulate this area, is there for all to see. Secondly, it's not only Gilgit Baltistan people from there who are agitating against Islamabad, but joining them are people who live in POK also. So it's becoming a combined agitation of all these people against the Islamabad domination.
Pakistan has been carrying out systematic repression in the region. Do you think this GB order was essentially framed to facilitate the Chinese flagship CPEC?
Well, yes, that is part of it. that to allow China to control Gilgit Baltistan, but I don't think it's that directly related, because Pakistan in any case had given 2/3 of territory of Gilgit Baltistan over to China decades earlier. CPEC is of course something which Pakistan gains from, but I think the main crux is Pakistan is doing this essentially to quell any protest or any revolt or any demands of the local population of Gilgit Baltistan, which is against Islamabad.
Do you think the international community should weigh in at this point of time?
Well, I think the international community is wading in. Also, we have to step up our propaganda against what Pakistan is doing in this region. The international community is definitely noticing it, but we have to ensure that in international community takes this issue up in a much bigger way than what they've been doing so far.
Moving on. Ever since the defeat of authoritarian leader Abdullah Yamin, India and the Maldives have committed to deepen their ties across all sectors. After President Ibrahim Mohammed Solih's visit to India last month, Defence Minister Mariya Ahmed Didi also visited Indian capital New Delhi to provide a boost to the bilateral ties that had nosedived during the previous regime. A report.
After the presidential visit to India last month, Maldivian Defence Minister Mariya Ahmed Didi landed New Delhi to repair and boost defence ties between the countries. The Maldivian minister was received by her Indian counterpart, Nirmala Sitharaman, on her arrival at the South Block. The visit came amid Indian government's plan to restart conversation with Maldives on renewing the Coastal Surveillance Radar Systems project as part of the Defence Cooperation Dialogue made by the former President of Maldives, Abdullah Yamin. Later in the day, the Maldivian Defence Minister held talks with Sitharaman at her office, aimed to boost the existing ties between the two countries. The Defence Ministry described the talks substantive and said that both countries were looking forward to jointly work to counter the growing menace of terrorism. Second round of India-Maldives Defence Cooperation Dialogue was also held in Indian capital. India has helped Maldives in improving its surveillance capabilities and has permanently based its 2 helicopters there and other technological aids in defence. It has also assisted Maldives at the time's defence crisis. The bilateral ties between India and the Maldives, which had experienced a brief spell of deterioration owing to policies and partners pursued by the former president of the country, Abdullah Yamin, are back on track with the return of democracy in country with Ibrahim Mohammed Solih at the helm of country's affairs.
Moving on. The lower house of Nepal Parliament witnessed ruckus and chaos after opposition parliamentarians protested over the presentation of National Medical Education Bill in the House. The opposition lawmakers protested in the well of the House and blocked Education Minister Giriraj Mani Pokhrel from tabling the bill in the House. Have a look.
The Nepalese parliament witnessed chaos and acrimony as the ruling and the opposition lawmakers stood adamant at their stances regarding the National Medical Education Bill. The main opposition, Nepali Congress Party, protested against the government's decision to scrap 2 hospitals in the name of former Prime Minister Girija Prasad Koirala and Sushil Koirala, who were also the leaders of the opposition party. Meanwhile, the government claimed that the 2 hospitals were struggling hard to operate and that is why it had intended to shut them down.
क्याबिनेट निर्णय जुन गरेको छ स्वास्थ्य मन्त्रालयबाट यो चाहिँ जुन 11 वटा राष्ट्रिय स्तरका यी हस्पिटलहरूलाई यो संघीय सरकार मार्फत ल्याउनको लागि क्याबिनेटमा चाहिँ पठाइयो.
The House Speaker Krishna Bahadur Mahara invited Education Minister Giriraj Mani Pokhrel to table the bill, but the opposition lawmakers rushed to the well of the House and blocked his way, resulting in further chaos in the House. The Speaker adjourned was compelled to adjourn the proceedings of House by days.
Moving on to Indian fashion industry, which has come a long way owing to its rich and varied textile heritage coupled with centuries-old traditions. With a steep rise in recent times, it has made its presence felt in the global arena. Recently, a fashion show was organized by Liva Fluid Fashion in India's showbiz capital Mumbai with an eco-friendly theme. Have a look.
Eco-friendly fabric and yarn manifested in the form of flowing dresses with fluid fabric turned the ramp green at a fashion show organized by Liva Fluid Fashion in Mumbai. The fashion show featured a unique collection comprising a wide range of colorful long dresses in addition to multicolor matching stoles. Liva Fluid Fashion claims to spin their designs with breathable, comfortable fabrics without being environmentally damaging. This show witnessed models wearing clothes designed with environment-friendly fabric with aim to encourage eco-friendly fluid fabric in fashion industry. Designer Anju Modi created waves with her eco-friendly collection, which was inspired by the rich autumnal colors with warm tones and light layers to incorporate the eco-friendly fabric. Captivatingly, these clothes were designed keeping the new age women in mind with breathable and comfortable fabric. Designer Gaurav Jaygupta presented his Gothic collection in black color in the dresses, sewn together long jackets and pants. Bollywood queen Kangana Ranaut, who was the showstopper for designer Anju Modi, looked ethereal in an olive green flowing maxi dress with an asymmetrical hemline and a thigh-high split.
It was always a very conscious brand and always eco-friendly, but with this new collection that they have gone few steps further, and they are really very high advanced techniques being used to be even more eco-friendly.
Meanwhile, Blender's Pride fashion tour was also held in Mumbai, which featured designer Rohit Bahel's collection. Rohit Bahel is India's one of the leading designers who has made his mark not only in women's collection but also in men's world of fashion. His unique way of designing art distinguished his collection apart from the rest. Once again, he showcased his innovative talent with latest fashionable designs. Event witnessed the shimmery and glittery night as models dressed in royal red outfits walked the ramp. Actor Siddharth Malhotra and actress Dana Penty walked the ramp as showstoppers, and both the actors looked stunning in their designer outfits.
इतने सारे मॉडल्स और इतने सारे आउटफिट और हर किसी की डिटेल देख के आई थिंक बहुत ही एप्ट था. It's very royal and I'm quite happy to walk for Blender's Pride fashion tour and their theme being Pride.
Indian fashion industry has evolved with time and designers are doing various experiments. These days, socially aware and green fashion trends are making big waves as various small and established designers are making significant progress in encouraging the environment-friendly fabric across the globe. Apart from conventional trajectory, Indian designers are trying and treading the space of experimentation and are craving a niche for themselves in the ever-growing gigantic industry.
A rapid surge in the Indian market and global recognition of Indian fashion in the recent history promises a certain and overwhelming growth in the Indian fashion market. With that, we come to the end of this week's episode. See you next week. Goodbye and take care.